Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Pursuant to Section 44, Bracket 3 of the Conflict of Interest Act, I rise today to table copies of a complaint I have made to the Ethics Commissioner. The letter outlines concerns about the Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations and Indigenous Economic Development being the recipient of untendered contracts. Included are supporting documents showing ownership of the business in question. These documents also detail the complaint. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Well, Honourable Speaker, my colleague for Riding Mountain has brought forward some concerning evidence of self-enrichment at the cabinet table. An untendered contract was awarded from one NDP minister to another.
Wow.
Manitobans deserve some answers. My question for the Premier is simple. Will he remove his Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations and Indigenous Economic Development, the MLA for Keewatinook, from his duties until the investigation by the Ethics Commissioner has concluded?
Honourable First Minister.
No.
That's right.
The members opposite are trying to create a false equivalency here.
That's right.
So, Honourable Speaker, so obviously the Premier just said no to doing the right thing. When his minister, the MLA for Keewatinook, broke the Elections Financing Act, the Premier refused to commit to cooperate with the Commissioner of Elections. Now that it has come out that the same minister accepted a $100,000 untendered contract, the Premier needs to commit to working with the Ethics Commissioner, which he's already refused. Will the Premier finally put the province and taxpayers before his party and do the right thing? And it's a big joke. Hey, Premier's laughing about it. Will he do the right thing, put taxpayers above his party, and remove the minister until the investigation by the Ethics Commissioner has concluded?
And so today, on the last day, they come forward and they try to cloud the waters with a false equivalency.
I'm going to advise the Premier that maybe before he starts throwing additional stones, he should maybe read the document and show and see how his minister, once again, is breaking some of the rules. Manitobans, again today, are not hearing a commitment about accountability and transparency coming from this Premier. The Conflict of Interest Act is incredibly clear. It is unacceptable that cabinet members are sliding $100,000 checks across the cabinet table to one another. Yet from this minister and this Premier, there's an attitude that the rules are things that apply to other people. Yet once again, since he is in full support of his minister receiving illegal contracts, what other illegal contracts within his government is this Premier aware of?
The Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations and Indigenous Economic Development has accepted an untendered contract for $100,000 from one of his cabinet colleagues, despite the fact that the Conflict of Interest Act expressly forbids it. The minister knows the rules because the Ethics Commissioner is incredibly thorough in educating members. So I have a simple question. Why did this minister, the MLA for Keewatinook, accept this untendered contract knowing it was against the rules?
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And it's interesting that the member for Riding Mountain talks about the rules. Was he part of cabinet when those discussions on Silica were going around that cabinet table? Was he there saying, this is wrong? Did he call it the member from Red River North, say this is wrong? From Mitchell Gimli to say this is wrong? Did he time and time again call it out?
Please.
No, he did not.
Order, please. I've previously cautioned members about talking about items that are under advisement, so please don't do that. The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. There is no explaining this away. There is no dancing around the issue. The minister accepted an untendered $100,000 contract from his cabinet colleague, who also sits on the Treasury Board, knowing full well that it was a conflict of interest. Will the minister stand up today and tell the House he made a mistake and return this ill-gotten contract? Yes or no?
Your Honourable Speaker, the member talks about doing the right thing. To refrain deliberately and often with an effort of self-denial from an action or a practice. That's the definition of abstaining. Why did members opposite abstain from the vote last Thursday against trans kids, against two-spirit kids? Again, deniability, failure to do the right thing, dysfunction in that caucus, and that's something they're all about day in and day out.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Question.
Court records show that previously the minister's wages were garnished to cover payments in default to the minister's suppliers. Wow. So his business has clearly impacted his work in this House. This Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations is facing a lot of questions from Manitobans today. He has refused to cooperate with the Commissioner of Elections for his recent breach of the Elections Financing Act. Will he commit today that he will fully cooperate with the Ethics Commissioner?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Day in and day out, members opposite stand up and they ask supposed questions. Over 1,100 questions. I'm also the Minister of Indigenous Economic Development. 1,100 questions and not one question on Indigenous Economic Development. We're proud of that department that we stood up. October 2023, we took that as a priority. Indigenous business here in Manitoba is here to stay.
The honourable member for Lakeside.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This Minister of Municipal Relations stood in his place in this House and told dedicated Manitoba organizations that their funding was cut. His colleagues rose for him at times and addressed groups in the gallery that were denied funds, but reading off a list of successful applicants to rub salt into the wounds. Now we find out that while this minister was shortchanging summer camps and museums, he was lining his own pockets with public funds. This minister should be ashamed, is he?
That's where the money went.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Abstention is the way for them to cop out. That's plain and simple, Honourable Speaker. They sit there and they talk about voting in abstention or not voting, not supporting. Where were they? Where were they as a unified supposed group, supposed caucus, supposed government waiting? Nowhere to be found. Abstention, abstention, abstention.
The honourable member for Lakeside on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, at the same time that community groups and municipalities were being told that their long-standing Green Team funding was cut, the Minister of Economic Development was sliding a $100,000 check across the cabinet table. Groups were told there wasn't enough money for them to get $5,000 for summer students. Instead, volunteer boards will need to do all their own labor. How does this minister justify telling so many Manitobans no when he insisted his cabinet colleague tell him yes?
He'll have a good summer.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Let's go through the list. Just for Interlake Gimli alone, Arborg Bifrost Parks and Recreation Commission, Clan-du-Bois Community Club, Gimli Bible Camp, Arm of Coldwell, Arm of Grahamdale, Riverton and District Friendship Center, St. Andrews Community Club, St. Andrews Heritage Center, St. Leonard District Commission. Honourable Speaker, and that's just Interlake Gimli.
The honourable member for Lakeside on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, if they weren't cut off entirely, groups still found their Green Team funding dramatically cut. They applied but were denied. They played by the rules and paid the price. Yep. Some will have to cut services and put off improvement projects. Others are taking on debt to not fire students. And this minister is breaking the Conflict of Interest Act to take a government contract he's not entitled to. That is NDP justice. Play by the rules and you get nothing. Join their team and you get whatever you want. Yeah. Will the minister return this ill-gotten gains today?
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I know the price tag to recruit PC candidates, $500,000 for Fort White, and that's just shameful to be able to do. But let's talk about other projects within the Green Team program. In Lakeside, Woodlands Recreation Commission, Western Lake Trading Company, Arm of Argyle, Center of Assiniboine Watershed District, Arm of Argyle, Gross Isle Memorial Park Recreation Club, Arm of Rosser, Grounds Maintenance, Arm of St. Francis Xavier, and many, many more, Honourable Speaker. I can go through the list all day long.